Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome to Saturday. This is Dr. Velma Bagby, and welcome to Dr. Velma Talks Dating and Relationships and Marriage. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. This is our time to have a conversation, and you get to have a conversation with me. And in our conversations, I want you to keep in mind that I am a Christian best-selling author. I am a certified dating and relationship coach. I am a woman who's been married 50 years. I'm grateful for those 50 blessed years, a speaker, and I'm your host. So let's talk. Here's where I'd like to start. I know that I hear ladies all the time talking about some of the concerns that they have with dating and marriage, but I want you to understand that we are here to talk together. And I'm inviting the men in as well because I have a small pocket of male followers and they are benefiting from some of the things we've addressed in my books and some of the conversations that we will be having on Saturday. We'll make sure we include them as well. So, in this podcast, what can you expect? I want you to understand that we will have conversations around the books that I've written. We will definitely be talking about opportunities for you to respond to me, posting comments about what I talked about in a podcast, asking your questions. But let me give you this disclaimer. Many of the questions that you might have I may have already addressed in the series, in the book series, where there's book number one that I've written about dating and relationships and marriage. That was my conversations with my adult daughters. It was called Your Adam is Asleep Until God Opens His Eyes. Their question was, Mom, why are men so slow? And that was my answer, the title of the book. So I talk about it there. But in the book series, the Catch series, the four-book series, there's a lot of conversations around that process as well, except in a fictional way in books one, two, and three. Book four is Christian nonfiction in the series. So we'll get into more details about that in just a moment. So just keep in mind that's what I'm going to talk about. I also want to make sure that you are committed to this talk. I'd love to address any questions you might have, but I would expect that you have read the series at least because some of your questions can get answered, and then you can get your questions. If you want me to expound on something that I talked about in the book, then this is an opportunity for you to get that as well. For those who don't know, I began this journey after writing that very first Christian nonfiction book, and I began hosting the podcast on a regular basis. I think I stopped just so that I can write this series that's behind me. So I'm grateful to be able to return to this so we can have open dialogue with each other. And then my why, the reason I got into this process of writing about dating and relationships, because I felt that we lost the ability that we had when that was in place when I was coming up, that provided us with the support, with the training, getting us ready in the event that we wanted to get married. We got that. Actually, in high school, I had a lot of life skill classes. We were taught how to manage our checkbook, how to manage our money, how to handle income. We were taught how to cook, how to manage a household, how to clean, how to take care of a child. All of those life skills we received in high school. So if we wanted to leave high school and marry or marry right after college, we had those skills in place. We've lost all of that. The other thing that we've lost is we've lost the wisdom that used to come from either a father, a parent, or in some cases, an older relative like a grandma or an auntie. We lost the ability to get that wisdom. And we know the word tells us that, if we lack wisdom, then there's a concern there because even I had to realize at one point I'm that Titus 2 woman that God talks about in Titus 2, that the elder teach the younger. So again, having been married 50 years and many of the things that God has blessed us to accomplish is not just for ourselves. He's given it to us so that we can help the next person. So I'm here to help you. I know you don't want to speak to someone who's been married 2 minutes to give you coaching and advice. So here I am with 50 years. I'm definitely in the place where I can help someone else to achieve the same thing. So My why is also looking at the decline of marriages since the 1960s, looking at those statistics and seeing that the marriages had declined since the 1960s in both in the church as well as outside the church. I remember hearing and watching people ignore the red flags. It used to just really make me nervous to see people just ignore things that they should be that are built and created to be their warning, and yet they ignore them. Looking at women make mistakes over and over, choose someone who would treat them lower than their value. That was a concern for me. Sitting in pre-marriage counseling sessions with my husband, who was a pastor at the time, and watching couples trying to get married to the wrong person and expecting you to fix that problem. No, we need to put in the work way before, and that's the reason the messaging in the books talk about that through the main characters, Pastor Grayson and his daughter Veronica, because preparation begins way before marriage. Just like I described what type of training we received in high school, it began before marriage. In the scripture, in the Bible, women and men were prepared before marriage. Men hold a heavy responsibility because God is going to ask you, what did you do with what he gave you? You're responsible. He's going to hold you accountable too. And so, therefore, ladies, we have to make sure that we understand the role that the man will have as well as ourselves. All this preparation happens way before we get married. So, I looked at the poor dating pattern. I looked at hearing the excuses that people made to ignore the red flag, how they accepted poor treatment. I looked at generations that had not been trained or properly prepared, or no wisdom was being poured into them. Like I had the benefit of an elder aunt, two of them on both my husband and my side. And they were just support to me. I wasn't the type of person who hung around those of my age because I felt like people my age didn't know anything. I wanted to hang around with the people I knew can pour into me and tell me something that my generation didn't know. So I hope that I can help you with that as well. So those are some of the things, watching individuals marry the wrong person, watching married people get out of the marriage too soon. When a storm hit, they just gave up on it. And then understanding the tools that you need before you get down the aisle. Watching people rush down the aisle with the idea of marriage, but having no clue what it takes to build a long lasting marriage. And ignoring what God has given us as the principles that we're to follow. So, all of those things, and even sadly, watching people get hurt in toxic relationships, harmful relationships that they should have avoided because the red flags were very clear. And then again, looking at what they just ignored. So I was burdened with all of that when I began writing this series, but my load of carrying that knowledge and that burden was lifted when I saw the response to the very first book that I wrote. Because keep in mind, I thought I was writing one book, one novel, and based on the responses I received, overwhelmingly, I knew that I needed to write more. And based on those readers, they asked for more, and that's what I did. And then later on, the men asked. And so on and on. This is where we are today. So I want you to know we're going to do some highlighting of some of the speaking topics that I have, but I want you to know that in some of them, I may not go into detail, but others I will, but giving you highlights of them. And so I want you to keep in mind the things in the book that we talked about: red flags, RED, retreat extremely dangerous. In the book, we talk about the BTL, which is build the list, the husband to be prayer list. And we'll go into details about the three B's in that list, the BTL. And then the love tiers, understanding that there's an order to love, understanding what love is, as many people don't know. And I want to point you to love himself. Love himself. It says the scripture tells us that God is love. We'll go into more detail. I'll give you the scripture reference. And then the LCW, the leave, the cleave, and the weave, the instruction that God has given us as a couple. And then the women, a message to women was really about examining. yourself in the very beginning. Where are you? And have you embraced who God says that you are? Because really, accepting and saying yes to yourself yes is already downloaded in you. God was the one that said yes first. Yes to who you are. Yes to who you're to be. Yes to who you're to what you're to accomplish. He already downloaded the yes in you. You have to discover that and accept it and receive it and walk in it. And we'll talk more about that. Looking at the woman in the mirror is what I call that self examination, building a list and making a list about what you want in a husband, but you can't meet the list. You can't even qualify. Come on now, we can't do that. And so these are the things we're going to talk about and we're going to address. So are you ready for Dr. Velma Talks? I hope you are, because this is a short version today. I just want you to know that these are the things we want to make sure that we cover, and I just want to thank all of you all for tuning in. If you don't have the series yet, make sure you get them. It's available on ebook. Some is small, some as little as $2.99. I've kept my novels prices down because I want people to be able to get them. And by keeping the prices down, you can get them very easily if you want the paperback. So please do so. I just want to say to you all, I appreciate you being here. I thank you. And I just want you to know that I need your comments. So whatever you heard today, if you hear something interesting, you're going to tell some people, post that. I'm going to tell some people about this Dr. Velma Talks on Saturdays. Saturdays at 12 Pacific time and 3 p.m. It would air on the Eastern time. Also, make sure you comment, put your questions in there. If there's something I need to address the next time, I definitely will. Or you might want to wait and see if I address something that you really wanted to hear more about. But in the future, I hope to offer space in the last 5 minutes or so. I will always dress the married couples because they're following as well. The books are written in a way that men will benefit, women will benefit, as well as married couples. So if you did not get that level of wisdom that I talk about way before marriage, then you can still apply it to your marriage. And I heard from one of my married readers that he saw something he knew that he needed to fix or change. And I appreciate that honesty. So you do the same. If there's something that resonated with you, I want to hear that too. So please make sure you put your questions and comments in the comment section. And in the future, I hope to offer a 30-minute segment for someone who wants to promote their business or brand that's related to what I'm talking about on Dr. Velma Talks. I'll be happy to do that. And one of the businesses I want to acknowledge even now is DMD Designs by Melissa Banks, Dream by Design. I am wearing Dream by Design, their necklace. Melissa is a pearl girl like me. I'm a pearl girl. She has lots of examples and beautiful pieces. I've purchased many of them. I'm trying to do good and get better at not purchasing every pearl I see. But I just want to let you know if you're interested in this next necklace, it comes in silver as well. Make sure you reach out to Melissa Banks or the Dream by Design website. I'll post the website in the comments section. But in the future, there will be a small fee for businesses who want to have a little plug at the end. I'd be happy to do that for you. But it's not a requirement. I will move forward with Dr. Velma Talks, whether I have anyone giving me anything they'd like to promote or not. I want us to have this talk. So I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. My marriage moment is to remember to make sure that you can always reset. It doesn't matter where you are and how many years you've been married, it's always good to reset the temperature in the household and make sure you guys are moving towards where the goal and the achievements you hope to accomplish as a couple and as a family. It's the same with this group. Every now and then, I will reset the temperature in the room to make sure we, as this podcast continue to move forward, that we're having the right conversations, that I'm addressing the right questions, that I'm talking about the topics you want to hear. So I just want to say thank you all. Our conversation will only be about 15 minutes. It may go to 20 sometimes, depending on what we decide to address. So I say thank you. Have a great day and see you next time.